A lot of familiar names and faces. Hello, everyone in there, wherever you are. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Wait. Next up. Yes. Do you guys see my screen? Good. Perfect. So just a brief introduction about me. I am an immersive experience designer, media artist, creative director. But the truth is that I made this up, just created all these names. I would just create it because it sounds, really more cool than the regular name. But what I always say, like I'm a generalist, and I think this word defines a lot of what I do because I love many things. Like I love typography, I love programming, I love design, I love art. Motion, and I've been doing all of this in my life. And actually, I never really got defined into one specific name. And I guess being a generalist, it's something that defines better the type of work that I did. And I'm just gonna give you a little like kind of brief about where I started before we jump into something more kind of like related to what we're going to talk today. So I started my career. So even though I'm from Mexico City and I'm from Oaxaca, which is a place that has enormous like influence in my art, in my visual, and all of that. I moved to Barcelona in 2005. If you remember what you were doing in that year, like a long time ago. And I'm going to show you, like, yesterday I was digging into my files, and I found my first ever immersive experience, interactive experience in from 2005. This was my kind of like my master degree experience work that I did. At that time was something very experimental, like that was called like digital art or something like that, because there was no social media, there was no like the world as we know it today, right? And I remember that this first installation, I did it with the first version of Arduino. The year that came up, this version of Arduino was the year that I was making this type of kind of like a way of you navigating a storytelling town where you can, explore different stories from different people. So the idea was that you were, you know, driving this bicycle, and then you're triggering this storytelling from different people. Sometimes their path were crossing across each other, and it was kind of like interesting because like that I didn't know anything about storytelling. I didn't know anything about programming, design, 3D, anything of that. Like I even remember that this project was done in Windows 2000. Like remember the Windows 2000 version, like that was like so long ago. But what it really changed my career was meeting this guy. So this guy is Sergi Jordan. He, for those who doesn't know, he created this instrument called the rack table, and the rack table is this kind of like crazy interactive, like a instrument based on like making arrangement of the music in this multi-touch interface. So at that time I wanted to be a DJ, but then I saw this and I said, like, I don't want to be a DJ. I want to do this for my career. This is the future. I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I went back to Mexico City, mainly because one of my ex said to, like, oh, we should move back. And then I said, oh no, I'm super good here in Barcelona, but yes, let's do it. So I moved to Mexico, and I couldn't find a job about what I was doing. So I ended up building this multi-touch table in my apartment. Uh, so the first picture that you see, there's the kind of like a plastic plaster that I was putting into the table, so you can, so it can detect better the finger and inside of there. So just for putting you again in context, so that was 2007. That was the year that the first iPhone was launched. So long time ago. So that year, so we were doing this insane multi-touch. Like I was, with my friend who was in Barcelona. So we were working remotely. We're making all these insane experiments with this table. So Luca and I, in 2008, we founded one of the first multimedia companies that were in Mexico that were not doing websites. You know, before that, everyone was doing like, you know, websites around. And we were just, you know, trying to merge, you know, design, art, and, you know, some stuff that I learned during that time. And we start selling these tables to clients. And, you know, that's another picture that I got from the archive just. And you know, imagine, you know, like people seeing it for the first time and having this, you know, feeling like, I don't know if you guys remember what was the first time when you guys did a pinch into your phone, like was so crazy. So forward a little bit more in time, this project called Hot Pixel was incredible, interesting, but I met this amazing human called Alejandro Machorro, and I met him through my you know, the work that I was, you know, doing in the day. I was a manager of design, so I met him in the corridor, and you know, he was just visiting because he was just visiting a friend. And then I show him the table. I said like, "Oh, do you want to move to this place? I'm just putting together this space." And that's how, you know, like we started working together into, you know, like some projects related to interactive and museums and exhibition. And the years moved forward, you know, and we started to add in more, you know, partners and persons into the company. So this project that started, you know, like with a very low personnel, you know, start to grow. And then, you know, like Alejandro had this vision of merging these people, and it became a group of 120 people. So we learned a lot of like by just making, like we didn't know anything about what the hell means, you know, like UX, UI, you know, like all storytelling, and you know, like software programming, all of those things. We had no idea how to do it. Like we literally we work, we learned together to use those tools to create those stories, to make all of these projects, because you know, like there was a lot of experimentation at that time. Like you know, there wasn't, you know, even Pinterest at that time, so you know, we didn't have any references to look at. We were just our own references to look at. And it was wild to all the big vision that Alejandro had to put together all this group, and to put together all these experiential people, you know, working into different projects, into different fields. And and yeah, so this is kind of like the projects that I was involved in the past. Some of them you've seen it, some of them probably, you know, seems familiar for you. We travel all over the world. Like I probably slept in many airports and many pyramids in the in the forest as well. Like it's been kind of like a very long pathway working into this field. Like starting from, you know, making this table, and then we're just making all these big, huge, incredible projects all over the world. But something, you know, like crazy, I will not call it crazy, but something interesting happened in my career and in my life. In 2021, I left the company, and I left the company in 2021. And mainly I left the company because three stuff. So I was, you know, time, family, and purpose. I had two kids. It was not the same life, you know, like having kids and having this life was not, you know, like kind of like merging between each other. So I and the company as well, you know, like as you saw, like we were just starting to grow, and there was like, you know, very organized model about their creative directors, and I had my role of a creative technology director, but I was not creating, and I wanted to create. And the weekends I was, you know, like programming all these beautiful with all some other people in the company, light art installations, but I didn't have that time yet because, you know, like I had to be with my family. So I was not having a really good time. And then, you know, like I read a letter to Alejandro. I cried that night, and I said, like, you know what, for me it's moment to leave the company, to go away. I have no idea what to do. And I was scared as shit, like I had a lot of fears in my mind. And part of my fears was like the ego of not being, the founder and the co-founder and the director of technology of this company. The other fear was the money, of course, like I was about to have my second kid, and the fear of not making all these incredible projects anymore. But you know what? All of them, they ended up being alive. So be it from here, it's another different, like journey. So this is 2022, and I'm working still in the same type of projects, in the same type of, I'm still working and traveling the world, meeting all these people and meeting all of these incredible creators all over the world. Like from this small studio that I'm here right now, like I work globally for different clients and projects all over the world. Like I also started making again a festival that we reunite 2,000 people in Mexico City to speak about their creativity and their work. Like all of the fears that I had about not making this type of stuff was ended up not being true. And what I'm going to show you right now is the methodology that was created in Cocolab in conjunction with all of these people. We worked many hours thinking about how to make this process, how to make this methodology. And I can tell to you like the only way that I'm right now I can assure to give to my clients the same quality of work is by using this methodology. So I'm going to explain all of the methods that I use as a creative director. So this methodology consists in these 4 blocks, and all of these 4 blocks, they have a different purpose. So what you're seeing right now, it's my Miro board where I do creative direction. This is how I direct people that I'm working with. This is a very specific board of an experience project that I did last year, which is called Loom. Was kind of like a ticket-based experience. So the thing that I point at with the mouse was the main core of the whole creative direction. Right? So what we're going to review them. So this methodology that I'm use is what I keep doing. So every time that I got a call from a client, every time that I have a new project, I do over and over the same thing. So I go back and I use this same process and the same methodology. For example, like this is another project, way more different. But at the same time, like the core of this, it's based in like this area of here. So today I'm going to show you like how I unfold creative direction on the project, right? So the first thing, what is important to know is like what a creative director does, right? Like what is his role? And I stumbled yesterday across this video, which I'm going to show you right.
Do you play instruments?
Barely.
Do you know how to work a soundboard?
No. I have no technical ability.
So what are you being paid for?
The confidence that I have in my taste and my ability to express what I feel.
This is what we think creative director does, right? So the other way that I thought that a creative director does was this. So I was the guy who knew all the references in the world. Like I had them in my mind, in my computer, in my folders. So I had every single reference. So they used to call me the reference guy at the office because if they want a reference for something, they ask for it to me. And what I learned through the years is that I thought building an immersive world or building an experience was just looking at references and putting there, and that was my concept. And I can tell you, like that's wrong. That's the worst thing. So it took me years to realize. It took me years to realize that you need to write your concept. You need to write your idea. So the way that I see the role of the creative director is more like a director of an orchestra, right? So everyone plays their own instrument, they have their own like music, and everyone needs to follow, the director in terms of what is the moment and what this partiture that we're looking at. So that's kind of like the way that I see it. So, and he's kind of like the guardian of this thing called concept. So what is the concept and what does it matter? So if you think about a moment like concept, you can describe it in many different stuff, but it's this abstract idea of something. What is that? Whatever, we don't know yet, right? And I remember once Alejandro said that to me, like, if you cannot express an idea into a napkin, that's a terrible idea. And that completely struck my brain. It's like, yeah, of course, like sometimes we get very confused to express something, like, and when we can write it and can show it to someone, it's like, and someone said, the other person is like, oh yes, I do get it. That's what it is about, right? That's kind of like at the end, it's all about the concept, right? And the other way that I say it is like this. For example, like if I ask you right now, like think about a tree, yeah, you're all thinking about a tree right now in your brains. So it's not the same tree that Josh is looking at, Stephanie is looking at, Seth is looking at, or Alfonso is looking at. So we all see different trees. So, and that's the biggest problem working on creative direction. Like everyone is looking at different stuff in the project. So building a solid concept is to communicate this abstract idea to others. If we can put it like this, it's like we want to make sure that everyone looks at the same tree. We want to make sure that everyone knows what kind of a tree is, like what kind of leaves do this tree has, right? So the other way that you can put it like this is like this thing, it looks like the creative north, right? We need to follow this creative north all the time. So in a regular production workflow, you have concept, you have design, you have production, you have operation. And back in the days, we used to think that this is the start of everything, right? Back in the days. But the truth is, like, there is something that it's before. What is this? An origin, where everything starts. Like there has to be someone who asks you for that concept. There has to be someone who requests that concept, right? So being aware of these creative constraints, it's what it's about the origin. So creative constraints, it's incredible useful, like incredible a way for me to also work with other artists and with other animators and creators. So and if you think about this, for example, like people are extremely creative with with constraints. Like back in the days, you had like Twitter with 140 characters, and people were extremely creative with just that, right? And you can like also with Instagram, people are very creative with just this square, right? So these limits are the power of creativity, and the way it's put at is this box that contains everything, and you cannot move from that box, and this will drive a lot of force in the creativity. Okay, so let's start with the first strategy. So the first strategy is to create this creative brief. Like we all know, we need a brief. So what is this creative brief? Is just gathering all the key information for the project with this creative brief. So for me, when I request this brief, most of the time I just request for these pieces. So I just ask about, can you tell me more about the contexts? Can you tell me more about what are your goals? And this one is one of the most important things ever to ask for. Who is the audience? It's not the same thing who is the client that who is the audience, right? Because, the goals probably are driven for the client, but the audience, it's where you making this for, right? And in my career, I've been designing for the wrong audience. I've been doing that many times. Like, what's the challenge in here? What is the key message? The way that I like to put the key message is, if I can give a microphone, let's say like I'm a reporter and someone went out of my immersive world and I want to ask them, like, what do you learn from this experience? Like, I want you this person, whatever person is being interviewed, to give me that message or to at least resemble what I wanted to intend to be. And of course, we don't have more time and budget. So those are kind of like the main requests that I always gather together to make a creative brief. And those are the way you can set up the creative constraints. They are more, of course, is it an experience that is day or night? You know, what the space look like, special needs, duration, sound, light conditions. Oh, light condition is something that it's been chasing my life, because sometimes I ended up putting projectors out, you know, like in places where the light doesn't even, like there's this big window, you know, besides the projector, and then you ended up doing this in your career. So keywords and design principles, that's the second part of the methodology. So in this methodology, it's highly important to start summarizing all the information available into projects. So the other day I was showing Josh how I'm building my own AI agents to make some part of the work that I do. But in this programming workflow that I'm doing, you know, like I'm putting this analogy of the AI into here, because it's the way the brain synthesizes the information. So the things that I need to do before giving instructions to my assistant is I need to program something for summarize the words that I'm telling to these robots. So summarizing all this information that we had previously into some words and principles, it's what it's about. So just to give you an example, what are the keywords? So keywords is this list of words that describe the qualities of the experience, right? So just to give you an example, there are many of them. Yeah. You know, you could be in a meeting with a client, and or you know, you can create a new experience, and there could be some idea. What if we make something colorful or friendly or fun? Or it's also have to be informative, but it also have to be immersive, right? All of these kind of like wordings in the methodology are very important for you to digest. And the way that I do that is like every time that I'm jumping to a new code, like I try just to write them down. And you know, like putting them in a more bold or bigger also helps as well. Like, and even though like you can put like bad keywords, like these are the good ones, but what are the bad ones? Design principles. That's another way to narrow a little bit more about the definition about what's your experience about. Like in this specific case, the design principles is a set of words that acts as pillars that will always be present in your experience. So let's say you have a new experience, and for this case, I always use only 3. So what are the 3 that I will always use in every design, in every chair that I'm going to put into the experience, in every typography, in every animation, in every, you know, like every that you
Hola, nos
create.
vemos un poco
Sorry,
pronto.
we have to mute someone
Disculpe.
in this call. Whoa. Where was, yes. So you have to, we have to make this something that is going to be always present in your experience. So the difference between keywords and design principles is that your experience can be fun, but not all the time. Could be joyful, but not all the time. But your experience has also have these elements present. And you can define them, whatever you think it will be interesting for you. So we have the creative brief, we have the keywords, the design principles, and then we jump into the creative concept. That's kind of like the, you know, like if I can say like what is the creative concept, is the cornerstone of the creative director, right? That's what holds the whole thing, like it puts together everything. And this creative concept is based in these 2 pieces. So the first piece is the creative intent, and then I add something because for me it wasn't clear yet the intent, and then I add something that I call the creative idea, and then the theme and the story. So the creative intent and the creative idea, that's something that we're going to talk about now. For example, like what is a creative intent? It's what do you want others to experience? And I always would like to think about this. For example, if you have this magical power where you have a shoebox and you could put a people inside of this shoebox, what would you do with them? And this is the responsibility that we have as designers. And this is something that I like to start with when I'm doing a creative intent. So, okay, I have this shoebox, I just put in there what I'm going to do with them. So sometimes we underestimate the power that we have as designers because the people will follow, the people will believe that they're in that box and will do whatever you want them to do, right? So the creative intent is a single sentence that describes in an abstract way what people will experience. Abstract, simple, like just giving you some kind of like specific there about what is the creative intent. Let's say, for example, a trip into a far galaxy. That's an intent. That's abstract, small, from dark to light. It doesn't really need to be something that from A to B, it could be something like this, becoming the change, right? Very abstract, but it has a lot of like ideas in it. Like you can start thinking about that in your brain now, like, oh, let's talk about this experience in there. For example, like this creative intent was created by Ed Porber, one of the creative directors from Cocolab that now it's working at Moment Factory. And I love his approach. Like he said, like, oh, walk through walls. Yeah, and we're working on this experience for Frida Kahlo. And as you know, Frida has a lot of problems in her career, but a lot of like struggles, right? Physical, but also emotionals. But against all of those struggles, she became one of the greatest artists on earth. So this idea, walking through walls, it was taken even into the idea of the space. So do you see this girl that is opening this kind of like a screen in there and it's entering? So it's walking through the wall. So all of the space, you were able to walk through it. So all of this kind of a intention was just taking also the materials and the space that were used in this experience, further. So how do I build a creative intent? How do I create? And I'm gonna rephrase one of my friends, Alejandro Masferrer. If you don't know him, just search for him. He has an incredible book about creative processes. So he uses these shapes to talk about a creative process. And the way that you define this creative intent is first by making a definition, by creating this brief, keywords, design principle. Then you have it. Then you see this shape of this triangle that is opening is because you start opening to ideas. You start searching through many different examples and ideas. So normally I just use Post-its, it could be digital or whatever. Then I start writing into number 1, into number 2, into number 3, into number 4, into number 5. I start to, compare them, explore them, looking at them. And after that, there is a way to select the best one. There is always a best one, always, always, always. But you have to iterate. You have to try them. You have to test them. You have to compare them, right? Then you select the best one, and the best is your intent. Let's say, for example, like we're working on this problem, and we just choose this one, becoming the change, right? Then is the creative idea, which is something that I just added into this methodology, which is one paragraph of synopsis that explain what is your experience about. For example, like you have the creative concept, and then you give more context, more realistic context about it. Children and families step into a playful, interactive world where they chooses actively shape the environment, showing firsthand how small actions can lead to significant impact. Right. So something very kind of simple, but you kind of start seeing the tree, right? We start seeing like how this will look like. So we have the creative intent, the creative idea, and then we go for theme story. And for those who have joined the session of Margaret Carrison, it's very, like aligned into that, like theme and story. So if we talk about theme, is this universal message or insight you aim to convey through your experience, like something that is unique, something not more than unique, something that it's similar to each other because we're humans. We have this emotional relation because of the way we behave as humans, right? And the story is this brief description of time, space, characters, where the story unfolds, like, and also, rephrasing Margaret, and rephrasing the Imagineers as well. Like, there's the theme for this movie that we all know, and the theme, as the Imagineer says, like the intrinsic value of nature. What's the story? So the story is about these alien worlds, though. So as you can see, it's very obvious, like what is the theme and what's the story, the intrinsic value of nature, but you can make a different story every time, right? You can make a different time. So for example, like this another different example, like what is the theme? Like, the affection of society on mental health, right? And then there is a story. It could be about this superhero, it could be about something else, right? So this creative intent, it is, like breakdown into this concept is, creative concept is breaking into the intent, the idea, the theme, and the story. And that's where we're starting to look at the tree. So the next thing is the user journey. So user journey is the best way to drive emotions, right? We all know, we all been, seeing those and making those user journey. And what is a user journey? Is this how to segment each part of the experience where the user needs to participate. How we structure chapters that helps you to explain how your concept is divided, but also could be this initial idea of how do you want to drive emotions, right? So, and there are many ways to do this type of like journeys. Like, let's say we're working into this experience where we have this intent called becoming the change, and then we have these kids that need to to go through different parts of the world, like from the sea, the forest, the desert, the jungle. But there is a curve there that is related to emotions. The more emotions they are higher, the more resources you need in music, in technology, in whatever thing you need to drive higher there. So not all of the time, and not all the time the journey, it's a linear journey. They could be many different narratives. Like, for example, this is an actual screenshot of Loom, the project that I worked last year. This is another project that I'm working on with another very different type of non-linear journey. And I really love this one because the way that I see when you step into experience is like the moment you put a foot into that place, you enter into this special world. So the way you're getting into, you're going, you started in the ordinary world, and then little by little, we put you into this special world. And this ability of this user journey gives you a lot of like elements to discuss with sound artists, music artists, animators, programmers, developers. Like, we explain like what is the intent for each of them, of the steps of them. What is the thing that we are looking for? And there's so many ways. For example, like this is the hero call journey that is, I use that for translating some of the experience that I was having a hard time to get it. And like the magic thing about user journeys is like they have no dimensions. It could be multi-dimensional as well. Like that's the crazy things about making this with journey. So looking about this in an overall, if you think about for a moment, like what are the things that never change when you're working as a creative director? Those are the things that I've seen that they need to, they can change. But the thing that it's, behind, those are the things that can never change. Why? Because client never going to give you more money, right? Or if you start changing the creative concept, the creative intent, everything start, making a mess, there. And we all been there. We've seen this, like, the other day, I hope he's not here. The other day, I went to see this experience in Montreal, in a pyramid called P1 something, and then I said like, well, that's the worst show I've been into, and the director was the founder of the Cirque du Soleil. And I said like, oh, because I think he was doing this with no actors because he was not allowed to use actors because something law and the Cirque du Soleil or something like that. So he just was entering to the immersive laser technology. And there was, I saw a lot of lasers, but it was an empty theme and an empty concept as well. That's what I thought. But anyways, so looking further, what is the creative direction workflow that I just showed you? The creative brief, the keywords and design principles, shrinking, the creative consent, opening a little bit more and then shrinking, and the user journey. And me as a creative director, this is what I'm hired for. I do this, and then I lead teams based on this. When someone new enters into the project, whatever is a musician or a new artist, I just come out and I show whatever person is joining the team this thing in minutes, right? So and this person literally see the tree, the same leaves, the same height, the same, he's understand. So this piece over here is my creative brief. These over here are my keywords and design principle. This over here is my creative concept, and this over here is my user journey. And this. Thank you.
I'm sorry, that was amazing. I love it. I love it. That's incredibly valuable and honestly incredibly generous to share your process in that way. I think it's great. I mean, there's a lot of similarity, and I think from a lot of how, our various studios probably, approach these things, but like, I love your spin. I think it's fantastic. So we have some time for some questions. Clay Budin had a question.
Yeah, hi. Guess I'm wondering, how do you balance? I mean, obviously you want the user to have the user journey that you are kind of designing for them and the experience that you want them to have. But at the same time, isn't there also kind of a desire to have the user, to allow the user to explore and kind of investigate on their own and kind of draw their own conclusions or have their own feelings or their own point of view of things? And how do you balance those two things? I mean, sometimes you go to these experiences and you feel like you're being spoon fed. This is what you should feel. This is what you should think about this.
Yeah.
Here's what you should, here are the conclusions you should draw from this experience. How do you kind of, I mean, you do have a point of view, obviously, and I think having a strong point of view and position, if you will, is important to what you're doing. But at the same time, how do you leave it open for users to kind of add their own kind of unique point of view to things?
So the trick is, again, to give it limits. So if they are limited to the space, I'm not asking them for go out from what I want to. I told them, you're free to explore whatever you want to explore in here, but that's your limit. That's your space where you need to explore. Make whatever you want. Well, whatever you want. So the best example is Sleep No More, for example. Like, they put these kind of like levels, floors, and they make this story, and you can go whatever you want. But at the end, it does have limits. So limits are a way for you as a designer to let them know where you want them to go. I mean, you place it.
And I would just say, if you guys have questions, just throw in the chat. And then, Janelle, you raised your hand. You have a question.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone. Oops, sorry. I've got this filter, my iPad drawing filter on my iPad. Hello. First of all, just wanted to say amazing presentation. Thank you so much for all of the expertise shared with us. Love to see it, how it sort of transcends through different languages and cultures, that the framework remains the same in this repeatable way, which is super helpful as somebody who loves a diagram, as was championed by the Odyssey Works training that I got that brought me here after learning about y'all from them. So I had a quick question. I'm working on a project that is, I'm trying to utilize immersive, the idea of bringing like immersivity to a project that is tied to like bringing awareness around the sustainable development goals by the UN. So my question is, like, in your events, when you're not working for like a brand of like a company, but you're like, so it's like not like you're necessarily trying to get purchases or trying to just wow the folks, but you're trying to incite an action or like a modeled behavior. Have you had any favorite or surprising ways of sort of like inciting action and agency amongst the participants and or viewers of your immersive installations or works? Yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you. So the the interesting thing about this methodology that I share with you is like you can break it. You can do whatever you want with that. Like I did kind of that when I left the company, and I'm just keep change it and keep like refining and keep just thinking about some stuff that might be different. And regarding about your question about if there is, sorry, can you repeat like just really briefly like the last one?
Sure, yeah. The question was kind of like, what have you found any favorite or extremely like powerful ways that you've liked to sort of engender the concept of agency in the participant or viewer to go out and model a certain type of behavior?
Yes. Yeah. So everything
like not consumer based, but like more,
yeah. Honestly, like and I'm gonna share you some things that I'm ashamed in my career. So I mean, I've been, I've been, back early in the days when I started, I was, working for Marlboro and projected into cigarette boxes and making, experience for Marlboro.
Totally.
Yeah, I didn't have any values in it. So I think values and the way we approach and the I will say like if there is a heart and experience is the theme. So this universal value that resonates through everyone, no matter you're doing an experience for cigarettes or no matter that you're doing an experience for this agency, it has to resonate with everything. Very similar of the example of the Joker movie that I put you to. So if you discover the heart of the experience, that's where the value is. That's where everything like lays unfold later, right?
Totally. I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's starts from the heart.
George had a question. I can ask for
Josh,
you.
I could jump in. This is Yvette, and it's fun to follow Janelle. Hi. Wonderful talk. I appreciated every minute of it. I was thinking a lot about what precedes the creative brief. Like, what is your mix of like client versus self-directed? And if it's self-directed, what's before the Canva board, or how do you step into this process if it's for yourself?
So I'm going to share you. I hope I have no clients in this meeting. So the way that I approach, I made them believe is their idea, even though it's my idea. So and I guess many of those, that's the technique that we use. So we create some concepts and ideas, no? And then we present some option A, B, C. What do you think about this? Oh, that's an excellent idea. If the client chooses B, oh my God, you had an incredible idea. Then we make them believe that that's their idea, even though it's not. So that's kind of like, and then the other structure that I do, like I do regular touches with my clients. So I have this kind of a persistent Friday meetings with them, very specific, saying like, oh, touch point Friday, touch point Friday, touch point Friday. And then we review the process, so there's no surprises. So when they ended up, seeing their experience, like there is no surprises, like they already have it. But I always create options for them. I always give them like, this is the options that you have. Choose whatever you want. Oh, I choose this one. Oh, incredible.
For your work, is there always a client, or are you doing some?
No, it's a I have a festival which I have clients which are people. Sometimes I curate exhibitions, or I create that create the exhibitions, and they do the creative directions for a ticketing. So my clients are people sometimes.
Right, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great answer.
Fabiola, you have a question?
Yeah, hi. I wanted to ask, I am new to this industry and like coming in and learning about what's going on. And